Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. Hell is not afraid of beauty. It is terrified of identity. The most dangerous woman on earth is not the one who shouts, but the one who understands that her silence is not absence, it's authority. When a woman walks into a room knowing who she is, demons tremble not because of her words, but because of her presence. There is a kind of strength that doesn't make noise, but it silences storms. Let me tell you something that most people never teach you. Storms don't come to test your emotions. They come to test your identity. The storm is not looking for how loud you can pray. It's not checking your beauty, your wardrobe, your social following, or your relationship status. It's looking for what you're standing on. And when a woman stands on revelation, storms lose their power. There is a strength inside a woman that doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, and doesn't prove. It just knows. It knows when to speak and when to be still. It knows when to walk away and when to stay rooted. That kind of strength comes from a place that flesh and blood did not reveal. It comes from a divine encounter with purpose. The problem today is that too many women confuse emotional attachment with identity. But when a woman detaches emotionally, not because she doesn't feel, but because she understands, she is accessing divine strength. She is no longer led by feelings, she is led by vision. When you reach this place, even betrayal becomes fuel, and silence becomes your most powerful statement. Don't let the world trick you into thinking that being calm is being passive. The most dangerous storms in the ocean are silent before they strike. And the most powerful women are those who walk through fire and come out with no smell of smoke because they never internalize the flame. When you detach spiritually, you don't lose love, you gain clarity. You don't become cold, you become wise. And wisdom will protect you where love tried and failed, because love without discernment is dangerous. That's why when a woman is emotionally whole, she becomes a vault. You can throw storms at her, but she will never leak. You see, the enemy fears the woman who can be betrayed and still worship, who can be abandoned and still rise, who can be overlooked and still serve. That's strength. That's dominion. That's kingdom. Because storms can break trees, but they cannot break roots. And when your identity is rooted in divine truth, you become the stillness that rebukes the wind. When Jesus stood in the boat and said, "Peace, be still," he wasn't just talking to the waves, he was demonstrating the authority of inner stability. That same authority is inside every woman who is anchored in her Creator. You don't need to shout at the storm when your presence carries peace. The storm recognizes what is anchored and bows. I want you to understand something vital. Detachment is not rejection. Detachment is redirection. It is when heaven pulls you back to protect what you carry. Because when you carry destiny, not everyone deserves access. Your silence is not weakness. Your emotional boundaries are not pride. They are the walls of your temple, guarding the presence of divine purpose. When a woman discovers this truth, she stops chasing validation. She stops fighting for seats at tables she was sent to flip over. She stops explaining her anointing to people who don't recognize oil. She becomes like Esther, silent for a season, but dangerous when she speaks. This is the kind of woman who silences storms, not because she controls the weather, but because she knows the one who does. And because she is at peace within, no external chaos can uproot her. This is what true power looks like. This is what kingdom femininity sounds like. Not loud, not desperate, not reactive, but wise, stable, unshakable, and full of divine authority. True strength in a woman is not loud or aggressive. It is calm, controlled, and grounded in purpose. A woman does not prove her power by raising her voice or dominating a room. She proves it by remaining rooted when everything around her is shaking. Strength is not measured by how quickly she can respond in emotion, but by how deeply she can respond in wisdom. The world often mistakes noise for strength, but noise without substance is empty. Real power is silent because it is sure. It does not need validation, applause, or permission to exist. A woman who is grounded in purpose carries a different kind of energy. She does not compete because she understands that purpose cannot be competed with. It can only be fulfilled. Her calm is not passivity. It is the result of clarity. She is not moved by every comment, every opinion, or every storm. She has already settled who she is, so nothing around her can unsettle her. Her strength flows from her connection to her source, and that source is unshakable. That's why she can walk into a storm and not be moved, because she doesn't walk in her own authority. She walks in alignment with a greater one. Control is not about holding everything together. It is about surrendering to what matters most and refusing to waste energy on what doesn't. Her calmness confuses chaos because chaos expects reaction, but she responds with revelation. She doesn't need to shout when her stillness already speaks volumes. Her peace becomes warfare. Her composure becomes resistance, and her presence becomes leadership. She is anchored, and anchored people don't drift. That is the kind of strength that turns storms into silence, not by force, but by essence. A woman who knows who she is does not need to react to every storm. She becomes the calm in it. Identity is her anchor. And when identity is rooted in truth, storms lose their ability to shake her foundation. She understands that not every battle is hers to fight, and not every noise deserves her voice. There is power in restraint, and there is authority in stillness. When the winds rise and the waves crash, she does not panic because her security was never built on the weather. It was built on the word. Reactions are born out of insecurity. But when a woman is secure in her purpose, she doesn't flinch when things fall apart. She doesn't chase after explanations or beg for understanding. She doesn't need external situations to be peaceful in order to carry peace. Her inner world is governed by something higher than emotions. She is led by conviction, not circumstances. She's learned that storms are often distractions sent to pull her away from her focus. And the greatest defense is not always resistance, it's redirection. She has grown beyond the need to be understood in every moment because she knows her calling speaks louder than any argument. The storm may come, but she doesn't lose her voice trying to explain herself. She doesn't allow chaos to dictate her tone or direction. Instead, she becomes a still point in a turning world. While others are panicking, she is planning. While others are breaking, she is building. While others are fleeing, she is standing. This calmness is not denial. It is discipline. It is the fruit of deep spiritual maturity. She has walked through enough storms to know that most of them pass, but purpose remains. So she doesn't move with the storm. She remains with the mission. That is why her presence brings order. Her voice carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it flows from a place that storms cannot reach. Emotional detachment is not the absence of love. It is the presence of discernment. A wise woman understands that love without boundaries becomes bondage. She does not detach because she is cold, but because she is clear. She knows that giving herself fully to what is unworthy of her energy drains her capacity to fulfill what she was born to do. Her detachment is not indifference, it is discipline. It is the sacred refusal to let temporary emotions sabotage eternal assignments. She understands that emotions are real, but they are not always right. Feelings are fleeting, but purpose is permanent. So she chooses to respond from a place of revelation, not reaction. This kind of woman does not follow her heart blindly. She filters her heart through wisdom. She does not attach herself to every opportunity, every relationship, or every opinion. She has mastered the art of selective access. Her time, her presence, her energy, these are sacred, and she guards them not out of arrogance, but obedience. Detachment allows her to see clearly. It gives her room to assess, to wait, to hear God before she moves. While others rush into emotional entanglements, she pauses to ask, is this aligned with my destiny? She no longer confuses chemistry with calling. She has grown beyond the desire to be everywhere and with everyone. Now she seeks only that which aligns with the voice of the one who sent her. And in that space, she becomes powerful. Not because she no longer feels, but because she no longer lets her feelings lead. Her strength lies in her ability to walk away without bitterness, to stay without obsession, and to love without losing herself. This level of detachment is not a weakness. It is evidence of spiritual maturity. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows that not every connection is covenant, and not every storm deserves a response. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy when rooted in spiritual authority. A woman who understands her position in the spirit does not speak to be heard. She speaks to shift atmospheres. And when she is silent, she is not absent. She is observing, discerning, calculating the weight of her words. Her silence is not born from fear, but from wisdom. She knows that power is not always in what is said. It is often in what is withheld. While others are busy trying to prove a point, she is choosing to protect her peace. Her silence is not passive, it is intentional. She understands that some storms are not meant to be shouted at, they are meant to be ignored until they pass. When she refrains from speaking, it's not because she has nothing to say, it's because she has too much to protect. Her words are weapons, and she refuses to waste them on what does not edify, build, or align with her assignment. She does not answer foolishness with emotion because she knows that reacting to everything cheapens her influence. Spiritual authority is not measured by volume, it is measured by impact. When a woman walks in authority, even her stillness speaks. Her presence becomes a rebuke, her silence becomes a mirror, and her posture becomes a statement. She doesn't argue with the storm, she outlasts it. Her strategy is to be led, not triggered. She is not reactive, she is responsive to the Spirit of God. That's why her silence carries weight, because it is not empty, it is full of purpose. She has discovered that sometimes silence is the greatest shield. It keeps her aligned. It protects her vision. It guards her soul. And most importantly, it keeps her in tune with divine instruction. She doesn't need to announce everything, justify herself, or retaliate. She lets silence do the heavy lifting, knowing that when the time to speak comes, her voice will cut through noise like a sword of truth. A woman aligned with her divine identity does not compete. She completes purpose. She understands that she was not created to measure herself against others, but to measure herself against her assignment. Competition is a sign of confusion. When a woman doesn't know who she is, she becomes obsessed with who others are. But when she comes into alignment with the one who created her, she realizes that no one can occupy her space, carry her mantle, or fulfill her calling. Her design is exclusive. Her anointing is tailor-made. Her path is sovereign. She no longer looks to the left or to the right for validation. She keeps her eyes fixed forward, knowing that her lane is unique. Instead of wasting time trying to outrun others, she invests time refining what she was born to release. Her focus is not on being better than someone else. It is on being obedient to her own assignment. Because when you understand purpose, comparison becomes irrelevant. She doesn't see another woman as a rival. She sees her as a reflection of God's diversity in design. This woman carries peace because she is not threatened by others' success. She claps for them with a full heart, knowing that another woman's win does not subtract from her own. She is confident not because of her achievements, but because of her alignment. She has tapped into divine rhythm, and in that rhythm, there is no rush, no panic, no pressure, only purpose. She walks with assurance because she knows that what is hers is sustained by the one who gave it. She completes purpose by showing up whole, not half. She doesn't need to outperform, outshine, or outspeak. She simply needs to be in place. And when she is in place, heaven backs her. Her authority comes not from striving, but from standing. She stands in truth, in clarity, in grace, and in full awareness that she was not sent to compete in noise, but to complete a divine narrative. Storms are not always external. They are often spiritual confrontations designed to test the integrity of what you believe. A woman who has encountered God doesn't interpret storms the same way as others. While some see chaos, she sees a classroom. While others run in fear, she stands in discernment. Her response to a storm reveals the depth of her revelation. She does not cry out for escape. She leans in to understand, because revelation gives her a different perspective, one that teaches her that not all storms come to destroy. Some come to reveal who she really is. A woman of revelation knows that the storm is a setup for exposure. It is not her destruction that's being targeted, it's her identity. The enemy is after the image of God within her, not just her peace. And when she knows this, she stops taking storms personally and starts engaging them purposefully. She no longer prays for the storm to end. She prays for clarity in the middle of it. Because if the storm reveals what cannot be shaken, then the storm is working for her, not against her. Revelation anchors her, not because it makes life easier, but because it makes her vision clearer. She sees beyond the wind. beyond the waves, beyond the noise. She knows that storms only have the power she gives them. And when she chooses to see with spiritual eyes, she takes back authority from every situation that tried to control her. The storm loses its voice because she finds hers not in fear, but in truth. She's no longer moved by temporary disruptions because her eyes are fixed on eternal instruction. Her steps are ordered, and that order doesn't dissolve in adversity, it deepens. Revelation gives her the ability to rest in the storm, not because the environment changed, but because her understanding matured. She doesn't silence storms by resisting them. She silences them by outlasting them, with her feet firmly planted in the knowledge of who she is. And there comes a moment when a woman realizes that her peace is her most powerful possession. She no longer spends her energy trying to be understood by people who lack the capacity to comprehend her assignment. She learns that some explanations drain her more than the misunderstanding itself. And when that realization takes root, she begins to value her inner stillness over outer validation. She is no longer committed to being accepted. She is committed to being authentic. This level of growth brings clarity. She stops trying to fix perceptions and starts focusing on her purpose. She understands that people's opinions do not define her value. Their lack of understanding does not diminish her calling. So she steps back, not out of offense, but out of order. She knows that when she explains herself to everyone, she gives away pieces of her power. But when she rests in who she is, she becomes unshakable. Not because she has all the answers, but because she no longer needs all the approvals. When a woman grows to this point, she becomes discerning with her presence. She understands that not every table deserves her voice, not every question deserves her response, and not every confrontation deserves her energy. Her silence is not rejection, it's protection. Her distance is not pride, it's preservation. She has learned that not everyone deserves access to her process, and the less she explains, the more she elevates. This maturity creates a new kind of strength, quiet, firm, and immovable. She doesn't need to announce her growth. It shows in her decisions. It shows in her peace. It shows in her refusal to argue, chase, or prove. Her focus has shifted from defending herself to developing herself. And in that sacred shift, she unlocks a freedom that can't be bought because she is no longer driven by the need to be seen. She is driven by the need to be sent. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of alignment. A woman who carries inner peace is not disconnected from reality. She is deeply rooted in something greater than the reality around her. She has cultivated peace in prayer, in brokenness, in waiting, and in surrender. That peace is not fragile. It's forged. It has been built in the secret place, tested in the fire, and proven in silence. And now, wherever she goes, she becomes a walking atmosphere of calm because she is no longer governed by what happens around her, but by what is established within her. This peace is not passive. It's powerful. It speaks without sound. It corrects without confrontation. It calms without compromise. The kind of peace she carries confronts the spiritual climate of a room. It demands attention without force and brings stability without noise. When others are shaken, she remains steady. Not because she's numb, but because she's anchored. She knows that reacting to chaos only multiplies it, but being still in the storm exposes its limits. She's not unbothered because she's detached from life. She's unbothered because she's attached to truth. Her emotions may feel the storm, but they do not control her. She refuses to surrender her mind to fear, her spirit to worry, or her decisions to pressure. Her peace is not for sale. It's her weapon, her shield, her sanctuary. And when people encounter her, they may not be able to name what they feel, but they'll know they've touched something holy. Because true peace is not ordinary, it is supernatural. That peace becomes her authority. It allows her to parent with clarity, to lead with integrity, to speak with grace, and to walk away with dignity. She no longer forces understanding, manipulates outcomes, or overextends herself. She understands that peace is not just a fruit of the Spirit, it's a boundary, a standard, a signal that she belongs to another kingdom. When a woman discovers the power of spiritual authority, she no longer reacts, she reigns. Her authority does not come from titles, applause, or achievements. It comes from alignment. She has been positioned by the hand of God, not by the systems of man. And because she knows where her authority originates, she walks differently. She does not panic when she's attacked because she knows who backs her. She doesn't retreat in crisis because she understands that spiritual authority isn't about avoiding warfare, it's about winning from a higher realm. This woman has learned to speak not from emotion but from revelation. Her words don't echo fear, they carry the weight of heaven. She doesn't have to raise her voice when she speaks. Things shift because she is not speaking for herself. She is speaking from the Spirit. Her posture is not pride. It's confidence in the anointing she carries. And she does not need to prove her authority. She embodies it. Her presence releases peace. Her silence rebukes confusion. And her stand communicates strength. Spiritual authority makes her unshakable. She understands her place in the spirit realm, and therefore earthly chaos cannot dethrone her. She discerns what's behind the storm, not just what's visible in it. She doesn't fight people. She addresses principalities. She doesn't battle with opinions. She commands the atmosphere. That is why her authority is feared by darkness and misunderstood by the carnal. She's not fighting for control. She's operating in dominion. She knows when to speak, when to be silent, when to move, and when to wait. She's led by divine timing, not emotional urgency. And because of that, storms lose their influence around her. They may rise, but they cannot rule. Her authority stabilizes what others can't even name. She becomes the storm's resistance, not through force, but through spiritual rank. A woman who is led by the Spirit rather than her emotions becomes a force that the enemy cannot manipulate. She no longer lives at the mercy of mood swings, reactions, or the highs and lows of how she feels. She has learned to pause, to pray, and to discern before she moves. Her stability is not the result of denial, it's the fruit of discipline. She does not allow how she feels in a moment to dictate what she builds for a lifetime. She has matured to the place where obedience overrides impulse and wisdom outweighs emotion. This kind of woman is dangerous to darkness because she cannot be baited by emotional warfare. She does not fall apart when she's criticized. She does not lash out when she's misunderstood. She does not abandon ship when things get uncomfortable. She has been trained by the Spirit to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Her tears do not weaken her. They water her strength. Her silence is not surrender. It's strategy. And her stillness is not stagnation. It's divine alignment. Emotions come and emotions go. But she remains. She remains because she has anchored her identity in something higher than her feelings. She doesn't deny her emotions, she surrenders them. She has learned to bring them to the feet of God before bringing them into any decision. She doesn't speak from pain, she speaks through healing. She doesn't move from offense, she moves from instruction. And that distinction makes her uncommon. This woman has trained her spirit to listen first. She may feel deeply, but she is not ruled by what she feels. She is ruled by what she knows. And what she knows is that storms may rage around her, but they cannot enter her soul unless she opens the door. And she has closed that door with wisdom, sealed it with discernment, and guarded it with truth. So hear me today, not as noise, but as a call from eternity. The strength of a woman is not in how loud she roars, but in how deeply she rests in truth. She does not prove herself by striving, but by standing. When storms rage, she does not react. She remembers. She remembers who she is, who sent her, and what she carries. Her stillness is not weakness, it is warfare. Her peace is not passive, it is power. She silences storms not because she controls the wind, but because she refuses to let the wind control her. And in a world that demands her reaction, she offers revelation. In a culture that pressures her to perform, she chooses to be present. In chaos, she becomes clarity. In noise, she becomes order. In the storm, she becomes still. Not because of her strength alone, but because of the Spirit within her. She is not ordinary. She is divine strategy clothed in flesh. And when she walks into the room, heaven moves because she carries the authority of one who knows storms don't define her. She was born to silence them.